I tried making a game in a week. The aim of this experiment was not to make a good game or a long game, but a complete game. By complete, I mean it needed to have everything: level design, playability, music, effects, etc. All the things you'd expect in a game you bought rather than a prototype. The focus was on maximizing input in each phase while minimizing the time put into it. From this experiment, I wanted to find out the challenges in different phases of the game development, the rabbit holes I'd fall into, the things that could cause delay, the things that would end up taking more time than expected, and so on. I decided to start with storyboarding. This is not essential for games, but this was my first experiment of this kind. I decided to keep it simple by going for a 3D platformer, and having a sort of lore, no matter how low effort, allowed me to get some direction. So, after a short time of coming up with a rough story and a starting point, I decided to go into level design. I had no idea where to take the level design, but I had a story to set the narrative that would guide the level design, and also a set of guidelines in my mind, like slowly elevating challenges, strategically introducing mechanics, making sure I don't frustrate the player or myself in the process of making it. I started by blocking out the level with the geometry brushes and sort of let one thing guide me to another. After I had made the initial area for the player, I remembered that the mechanics drive the level design, and I didn't have any mechanics beside jump and run to make it more interesting. So I dropped the level design at that and started making the player character. I hopped on to Mixamo to get a character and some animations for run and jump. After I had quickly set up the character with the basics, I started working on the one unique mechanic to give this game some character. I made a simple limited floating mechanic and connected it to a progress bar. Initially, I made the bar refill itself, but then I thought making it a collectible would allow me to place the pickups strategically and allow me to provide the players with alternate play styles rather than having only one way to face the challenges. Back to level design, instead of moving to further blocking, I started collecting assets to complete the starting point and beautify it. It may have been a mistake because this ended up being the first rabbit hole I fell into. I had already decided the base asset pack that would guide the aesthetic of the game, but it wasn't enough and I had to find the assets that would go with the one I had. Thankfully, I had picked a realistic asset pack, so that narrowed down my search to the Quixel Bridge, where I found everything else I needed. Still, I ended up spending way too long on this part, also creating a distance fade and a fog material, and I feel this part can be better optimized for time. But there was some positive to it because having completed the starting point helped me guide the further design much more smoothly and comparatively faster. For the next sections, I did not do blocking with placeholders but rather just put the pieces from the asset pack I was using. All this time, I was also taking care of the feel of the game and slowly escalating challenges. I placed moving and rotating platforms, but I wasn't programming them yet. I just placed multiple platforms for the entire range that a certain platform would move or rotate to get an idea for future. After I had completed placing everything, I programmed the platforms, did some playtests to ensure that the movement speed and timing of the platforms was not too challenging or too boring. But since I had already spent too much of my limited time on the level design, I was able to spend less time on this part. So, note for future: decide your phases and time you'd like to spend on them. Distributing time equal time is totally not suggested. Rather, I'd suggest that you divide time based on experience, knowledge, and how much clarity you have for that phase from pre production. At this point, it was a playable level but not a complete level. I started adding pickups. For pickups, I found the school free pack on the Epic Marketplace that gave me all the effects I needed for pickup. I customized them to better suit my game. After this, I made a HUD to show the stats, a start menu, and a pause menu. I found some free sound effects from the internet. I made a jump sound, a landing sound, different sounds for different pickups, and of course, a background music. There were also a death sound and the game over sound. In the end, this was the result. So it ended up being more of a level than a game. But if you want to try it yourself, you can download it for free on itch.io. Do comment below what you felt about this little experiment of mine. Before I jump into another experiment of this kind, I will be doing some experiments with procedural animation, especially bipedal procedural animation. So if you want to see those and more experiments in game dev, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. Thanks for watching.